What's an agile release train? Why do we need one? What are the responsibilities of an agile release train? What are some of the key roles of an agile release train? What are the key benefits of an agile release train? And at the end, my top 3 tips from launching over a dozen agile release trains. So stay till the end and we'll cover those then. Hey friends, I'm Ahmed and welcome to the 4th video in the Save 6 for Beginners series. You know, I've been doing Agile for a long time. Okay, that's better. When I started my Agile journey over 20 years ago, I was mostly working on individual teams as a Scrum Master. But it wasn't until I later learned the concept of an Agile release train when things got really exciting. Before this, I honestly thought facilitating a team was hard enough as it is. Forget up to 12 teams. I'll talk more about my experiences and give tips later on towards the end of the video. So really, in my opinion, one of the most powerful concepts in Scaled Agile is that of the Agile release train. And its power comes from its simplicity. But we are getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. Years ago, one of my clients asked me to have a look at their teams because they were really struggling to get value out of the door. There were many teams, but I selected 3 different teams to look at. But the more I looked at them, the more confused I was because they were doing a great job. They had great requirements, great user stories, well-run planning, well-run execution, and they were actually delivering value. So I was like, what is going on? Same with the first team, the second team, and the third team. And it wasn't until I really started to dig to find out why are we not able to get value out of the door is when I came across one of the key use cases for when to use an agile release train. You see, what was happening was that though each of the teams were delivering value, they were not delivering it in an aligned way. Their prioritization wasn't aligned and they didn't know what the bigger vision was across all of the teams to satisfy the customer. So let me explain what I mean. Let's just say we have a user journey that requires this value deliverable, and this value deliverable for a complete user journey to deliver value to the customer. The customer doesn't care whether this is done by 1 team or 3 teams because they just want a seamless experience and a journey. And that's one of the most important things. But the problem that we have here is that in sprint 1, we get 1 piece of release. Sprint 2, we get 2 of the value releases or modules, but we have to wait till the 3rd sprint before we're actually able to release any value. And that's because they're just totally unaligned and misaligned. So that's essentially the problem we're trying to solve with the Agile release train. So I want you to imagine each Agile team as a single carriage on a train. When each carriage is linked to a train, all the carriages point in the same directions and they're perfectly aligned and they all arrive at the same destination at the same time. And that's where we're trying to go with this. Each carriage will have different passengers, it may have different cargo, but it's the same train with the same train driver, the same train schedule, and the train dispatcher is the same as well. So let's have a look now at what the official SAFe definition is, and let's pick out the really important elements of that definition. So let's go through that. So the Agile release train is a long-lived team of agile teams that incrementally develops, delivers, and often operates 1 or more solutions in a value stream. So let's look at long-lived. When we say long-lived, we do not want to be ramping up and collapsing agile release trains all of the time. We want to try and keep it in its form as much as we possibly can and minimize the changes across the agile release train. When we say incremental delivery, that means each value release builds upon the previous, and in that way, step by step, we deliver more value to the customer as frequently and regularly as we possibly can. And when we say often operates one or more solutions, it's quite possible for an agile release train to work on one product or one solution, or indeed multiple products or multiple solutions. There's nothing there to actually exclude an agile release train from working on multiple solutions. Of course, one of the essences of agile is for us to be able to focus. So the more targeted the agile release train's focus is, the better it's going to perform, and just as we as individuals perform when we have a higher degree of focus and we're not dispersing our, I suppose, our attention across multiple different areas. Okay, now I want to switch gear and talk a little bit about digging a little bit more into the art benefits. So the first thing we talked about already is alignment. But we talked about priority, but there's a little bit more than just the priority. So yes, priority, as you saw in that last example, that real world example, is important, but so is time. Each of the teams need to have the same time boxes. Sometimes they're called iterations, and program increments. They need to be aligned so that everybody knows when iteration boundaries are. They need to have a vision, which is also aligned. So all of these three things go to make an effective alignment across your agile release train. Next is collaboration. Now, by working closely together, the teams can identify and address the dependencies. They can proactively manage their issues and their risks early on, and they can just help and solve their issues proactively rather than reactively. The third one is predictability. Now, the set iteration and cadence and the synchronized planning for the agile release train should lead to more predictable outcomes and fewer surprises. And finally, scalability. It provides a way and a structure for us to increase our agile release train by adding more teams and working on larger projects and programs. And we can scale up and scale down depending upon the need and demands of the business. Okay, now let's switch gear now and let's talk about the agile roles. What are the agile roles that we have talked about? And if you want to find out more details about all of the agile roles, then see one of the earlier videos in this series. I'll put the link in the description below, and at the end of the video as well, you can look at that video if you're interested in all the agile roles in SAFe 6.0. But for the agile release train, what are the key roles? The first one is the product manager. That's effectively the person that's deciding the what. That's the train dispatcher, if you like, using our analogy. What is it we want? Where are we going? Why are we going there? That's the role of the product manager. The release train engineer, again, you can think of as the driver. That's the facilitator, the coordinator, making sure everybody's on the train, making sure that we are all aligned and working towards the same direction, making sure there are no obstacles in the way, slowing down and speeding up as needed. Then you have the system architect. You can think of that as the train engineer or the conductor. They're like making sure that their train is operating well. There is no challenge. There's enough track ahead of the train. There's enough infrastructure in place to support where we want to go, and everything is looking good. And then finally, the business owner. That's the person that's responsible for our ROI, or our return on investment. He or she is the person that makes sure that whether the train route is viable, whether the time makes sense, whether we have enough passengers to justify the journeys that we have. So these are the four key agile release train roles that are helping to drive the agile release train in the direction that we want it to go. But now let's have a look at some of the key responsibilities for the agile release train. Number one, it's around connecting with the customer, understanding what our customer actually needs. One of the most important things. When we look at the most impactful organizations in the world, they're the ones that are able to connect and understand and truly get into the head of their customer. That's one of the most important things. And that's where the product manager plays a leading role over there. Next thing is planning. You heard the saying, fail to plan, then plan to fail. And that's where the release train engineer takes a leading role over here, helping to organize and facilitate and coordinate the planning. It's not a solo event. Obviously, everybody on the Agile Release Train is there. So the product manager plays a key role. The system architect plays a key role. But the release train engineer is the person that actually brings all of that magic together. And if you want to learn more about PI planning, again, I'll leave the link for my planning series. I've got a PI planning for beginners series where I cover that in step-by-step detail. I think there's 16 or 18 videos in that, so you get a lot of detail in terms of exactly what you want to do, but it's in bite-sized chunks, so you can also pick up the areas that you want to focus on. But that's going to be a link in the description below and at the end of the video. Okay, then the third thing or responsibility for the Agile Release Train is the program execution. Of course, there's no point of, doing all of understanding our customers and doing all these great plans if we're not able to execute on that. So again, the release train engineer is the one that brings all of this stuff together with the product manager, making sure that we're going in the right direction with all of the teams and all working together as a coordinated whole to execute on that plan that has been outlined in the planning section. Then we need to get feedback. Getting that regular customer feedback is really important, and we do that through system demos. Here, the product manager and the rest of the teams and individuals on the teams, they're demonstrating their delivery to the customer. And then finally, we want to improve relentlessly. We want to keep inspecting, seeing where we are, and then adapting, changing based upon what we see, right? So every quarter, every 8 to 12 weeks, you want to be improving, you want to be getting better. Everybody should have this mindset that they want to grow, they want to learn, they want to improve. And now you've got something really special when you bring all of these things together. Okay, let's have a look at some of the Agile Release Train ceremonies. We'll have a look through this really quickly. So we start with our PI planning, as I talked about. This is planning the overall Agile Release Train. Once we've done that, we need to make sure we continuously remain on track towards the plan, towards our vision where we're going. Now, the plans are going to keep adapting and changing. We're not locking ourselves down into anything, but we know we've got a general roadmap for that 8 to 12 weeks in terms of where we're trying to go. Then we've got these two sessions called the Art Sync. One is the Coach Sync, which is where your Scrum Masters and your Release Train engineers, they come together and they make sure that they're delivering. There's no issue with the delivery. There's no impediments with delivering. There's no dependencies or other things that dependencies need to be managed effectively. So they're dealing with all of those things. And then you've got your PO Sync, which is your product owner and your product manager coming together, making sure that, look, is there any prioritization challenges that we've got? Has an issue happened, which means we might need to change our, a micro direction. May we need to go and speak to the customer and engage with them because there's some changes that are happening. All of these things happen then in the PO Sync. As I said, the system demo is where we actually show our customer, making sure that they get their feedback and learn and improve and adapt as we do that. Then, as we continue along this circle, the outer circle that you can see, we need to make sure we prepare for PI planning. This is a big event. You've got potentially over 100 people coming together on a 2-day event or 3-day event. Nowadays, because we're doing a lot of remote planning, mine normally are in 3 days. Prepare for PI planning, and you need to make sure that that's done effectively and not as a knee-jerk, but as a continuous, normal part of your working. And then you've got finally our Inspect and Adapt, where the whole Agile Release Train, or at least the key individuals within the Agile Release Train, I think it's good to get everybody on board the Agile Release Train, do Inspect and Adapt, and get their feedback, their feeling. What did they do well? What do they want to change? What do they want to improve? Because based on lean thinking, the insights and the understanding comes from those people that are the workers, the people that are on the cold face, if you like, that actually understand where the challenges actually are, as well as other people that are working in different roles. So we need to get everybody's voice and give everybody an equal say, and then we come up with hopefully a really great improvement plan at the end of each quarter as well. Okay, so now I've been doing this, as I've said, for quite a long time, and I've launched well over a dozen Agile release train. So what are some of the 3 top tips that I would give anybody thinking to launch an Agile release train? And the first one is be really clear. Have a clear vision, have a clear goal, and that then should translate into really clear requirements and features, okay? And with that, you're really clear priority. And all of this stuff means you have effective product management function in place who are trained up and understand exactly what's required from them. That brings me on to the second point. That typically when we're launching an Agile release train, the individuals may not know exactly what's required. We need to have a clear structure, clear roles, and training for those roles. And the third one is architectural. This causes so much pain in my experience where we skimp on that, we pay the price because it slows down our ability to deliver value because the underlying infrastructure or engineering may not be in place. So we need to balance an intentional architecture. We know where we want to go with an emergent design because the elements of that, they're going to need to emerge, which we just don't know about. But we need to get the right balance over there. And each program needs to find their own balance. So there you have it. I hope you find that useful. A quick overview of Agile release trains in SAFe 6.0. If you're learning about Agile or Scaled Agile, please subscribe so you get the next video in the series. Also, if you're in an Agile release train, please consider sharing this video or series with your team so you're all on the same page. Look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care and God bless.